Islam at a Glance is brought to you by
अमरीका में पाकिस्तानियों को अमरीकी सियासी अमल का हिस्सा बनाने में मसरूफ़ अमल अमरीकन पाकिस्तानी पब्लिक अफेयर्स कमेटी। अमरीका में बसने वाले पाकिस्तानियों का मुस्तकबिल सियासी अमल में शमूलियत से है। आइए सियासी शोर को उजागर करने के लिए आप भी एपी पैक का साथ दीजिए।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah ahda wassalatu wassalamu man la nabiyya ba'da. Dear viewers, today we have topic at our hands that is very interesting and very important. That is about our own rights, human rights in Islam. And under this topic, we will also see some of the similarities and some differences perhaps between what Islam says defines as human rights and what Universal Declaration of Human Rights suggests as the human rights. When we deal with a topic, it is always good to look at the title of the topic. And sometimes if we understand the meanings of various words used in the title, then we can have a good comprehension of what is coming under this title, what we are going to talk about. So let's take this title and see the two important words in it. One is human, the other is rights. Human, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defined the status of human being to us in Quran. It says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have given a high station to the human being, to Bani Adam, to the sons of Adam. And also we know that the human being are called Ashraful Makhluqat, the best of the creations. So keeping that in mind, we go to the other word, which is the right or rights. Rights are in Arabic, the Arabic equivalent of that is huquq. And huquq in a broader sense, we can, if we try to understand it from this definition, that it has two parts. One is huququl ibad, which is the rights of the people on us, and the other is huququllah, that means the rights of the Creator on us. There are other rights also, but for our topic, just try to understand that these are the main different types of huquq or rights. When we talk about rights, always it comes with certain responsibilities. So when we talk about rights, there's definitely we have to deal with this part of the equation that is dealing with the responsibilities and obligations, because we are living in a society where we interact with each other, where we day to day we come across each other. There are so many things that we cooperate or sometimes differ in it, so there has to be some set of rules to define that, and everyone has to obey that. If that would not happen, then it will be a chaos. It will not be an organized and prosperous society. So with the rights, always remember that there are certain obligations and responsibilities that we have to understand. Now, after we define this topic and these two important words, one more thing that I would like to share with you in the beginning is that Islam always encourages its followers, that is us Muslims, to cooperate in anything that is for the betterment of humankind, anything that is good. So Quran says to us, ta'awanu ilal birri wat taqwa wa la ta'awanu ilal ismi wal udwan. So cooperate with each other in goodness, in the things of conscience, and do not cooperate in the vice or in the bad deeds. So Quran tells us, gives us this lesson that you should cooperate. And we cooperate not only among Muslims, but also outside, the people who are outside the sphere of Islam, which are sticking to their own religions and their own way of thinking. So we are encouraged to participate and cooperate with such people, even if there is any good in that work which you can do together. And we see repeatedly in the Sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ that he would always love to cooperate with people for the sake of peace, for the sake of providing dignity to an environment, to people. So we see that he has made treaties with people of all kind. In Medina, he makes the treaty with Jews and other inhabitants of that city when he went there. And then he made the treaty with even the people who were at one time even trying to kill him, his own people in Makkah, from where he has to migrate to Medina. Then he goes and makes a treaty with them of peace. Although in that treaty, if you look at the face of it, it looks that it is very weak treaty for the Muslims. But for the sake of peace and for the sake of prosperity and progress, he made that treaty. So he is always ready to cooperate. And even in his early, teen age, he has witnessed a treaty that was called Halful Fudul. And he used to remember that treaty and say that if I get a chance to be involved in any treaty like that today, I will do that. And he would say that it is better for me in joining hands in such treaty than red camels. And red camels in Arabia are known for their, big value. So it is used in such cases that you give much more value to something. So he used to give much more value to that halful treaties like Halful Fuzul. And what was Halful Fuzul? In the time of Jahiliyyah, that is before Islam, and he was in his teenage, and that treaty was among the people of Makkah, in which they got together and they say that we are going to safeguard the human rights of people, the visitors, the people who are weak in this society, the poor people. If somebody is going to transgress against them, we will all be united to stop that and give the rightful owner of certain, for example, we are talking about mal or wealth. So it has to go to the rightful owner. Rights, respect for the people, and also to help the weak to get their rights. So that was the treaty that Prophet ﷺ used to remember and like it, even in the later times when he became Prophet. So all that tells you that what lessons we are getting from his Sunnah. And these are the same lessons that our scholars of the later ages, later means after Prophet ﷺ, but much before us and much before the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There was, if I talk about 14th century, for instance, a scholar with the name Shatibi, even before, 200 years before that, Imam Ghazali, he mentioned in his writings about a topic which is called the Maqasid al-Sharia. I just told you in the outset of our discussion that the rights come with responsibility, and to make sure that everybody gets his rights and follow the responsibility, you have to have certain rules. So that rules, that is in Islamic terms, it is called Sharia. So Imam Ghazali is talking about Maqasid al-Sharia. And then later on, Shatibi developed this subject. And there are 5 components that I will just mention to you in Maqasid al-Sharia of Islam. That is that one has the right that his religion or his beliefs are protected. That means nobody is allowed to coerce anybody or force anybody to change his belief, because Allah has given you the right or freedom to take the belief. How can you take that right from me or someone else? If I choose to be in certain path, then nobody has the right to force anyone to go away from. So this is the right given to the people. This is what in the Maqasid al-Sharia, the right for religion. The next right is for nafs. It is for the self. Imagine a society where there is no safety for human being. The people have the impunity to kill anyone. It's like a chaotic society that anybody can do anything, and nobody would be able to do things that are, for example, some business or some living. It would be very difficult to carry on in such situation. So Islam says this has to be guaranteed. The right for safety, so right for nafs. Nobody is allowed to kill for no reason. And there are certain only few conditions in which it is allowed, and that is again part of the rules and regulation, that one has to fulfill certain responsibility. And if he doesn't do, then yes, the Sharia come into play, and then to cleanse the society of such problems, such crimes, it is done. So deen or religion, nafs, and then aql, that is intellect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam, in this document that I'm talking about Maqasid al-Sharia, it says this: the third thing that is guaranteed or that need to be protected is the intellect of a person. And how Islam does that is that Islam sets the rules that one should not do certain things that make him away from his intellect. That means he has a block for his thinking, like through intoxication, through drinking alcohol, or all these things. In some cases, even some kinds of musics today, that is trance music, for example, that is meant for people getting out of themselves, stop thinking like a normal person. So that kind of situation, say that it is this intellect of people is the right that need to be preserved and protected. We should not get into those things. So number 4 is the mal, or the wealth of a person, that need to be secured and kept. All kind of protection should be available for a person. Again, just imagine a society where your home is not safe, your wealth is not safe, your belongings are not safe, the wealth that you have earned rightfully is not safe. Then what will happen to such society? Islam gives guarantee to that right of protection of the wealth of a person. And lastly, actually it is number 4, but the last one is the progeny. Islam gives the protection of lineage. That's why it encouraged the institution of marriage, not free sex, not free for all, where there will be nobody restricted from this kind of lewd behavior. And then the progeny, the family tree is not protected. So Islam puts guarantee on the protection of family. So these are the 5 basic things, and there are other. These are called the daruriya, or the necessities that need to be protected. There are other. The next stage is hajat, the things which are needed to further improve. And then you keep a tasmiya, that means the complementary things, and so on. So it is a wide subject, but I just shared with you the 5 basic principle of Maqasid al-Sharia that gives the human rights, the protection of human rights. So see, this is happening in 14th century. But unfortunately, this happens when you see the writings of some of our Western writers. They just jump from Greece and Roman empires and those society directly to the age of Renaissance. And they talk about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But what has developed, what has happened in the 700 years, 800 years, they don't talk about it, which is unfair. And sometimes the Muslims also do that they attribute everything to their own scientists, that this has been done by the Muslims and this has been developed by the Muslims and all that. It is true, but it is a continuation. Someone has done some work in Greece, someone has done some more work in Rome during the Roman civilization and all that. They have contributed, and slowly the human race, they developed. And intellectually, or with respect to the rights, I would say the climax of its development was the time when Prophet Muhammad was there, during his lifetime, because he established the rules that are universal, that came from Allah, of course, and that is going to, for the Muslims, that is what we will follow and that will continue till the end. But there are many things that are common between how the Muslim thinks about the human rights and those out of the fold of Islam also. So now if we come to the other part of our discussion, that is, what are the similarities and what are the differences between the concept of human rights, what Islam carries with it, and the concept of human rights, for instance, as defined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Universal Declaration of Human Rights talks much more about common things with Islam. There are certain small things, and I will point to that, on which some of the Muslim countries at various times in the histories during its development, at the time of the initial, when it was floated and adopted, they have certain reservation and they abstain from, for example, voting in that direction. But let's first talk about the commonalities. Commonalities is about freedom of men. Commonalities in Islam and the Declaration of Human Rights is about giving respect to men. It's about guaranteeing and protecting the things that I listed in the Maqasid al-Sharia. There are many overlaps. These are covered in Human Rights Declaration as well. So Human Rights Declaration was a consequence of what man has done to its own race during World War II, and was involved in killing of millions and millions of people. That never happened in the history of mankind. About 60 million people got killed by men. And after that, they came to senses and they started thinking that there should be some protection for us. There should be some human rights. Even during the times of conflict, there should be some rules that will govern us. We should not become animals. We should not just start killing like animals. That's what has been done during the world wars. And that is actually also, by the way, in the Islamic law and Islamic system, it is the rules of engagement during the wars are also given. The woman will not be killed, the children will not be killed, the people who are in their monasteries and will not be killed, and all these things. And then how to protect the environment even, that is given by Allah and His Prophet to us in those centuries which are sometimes by mistake skipped by many of our friends. But anyway, so these are the commonalities. If we talk about what are the differences, and I said there are few, well, we should not be shy to mention that. And it is because of that, the differences, that it was 1948, and actually this came into adoption as a law, as a ruling in the United Nations in 1966, and until 1976 it was not implemented. And I should say that in 1948, the proponent of this universal Declaration of Human Rights, like United States, which in their own constitution has a big a part that deals with this rights of people, who were the proponents, and they did a great job. And even at that time, there were organizations in United States, for example, and in other places in the world, they were differing from these declarations in various ways. I will share a couple with you. For example, American Anthropological Association, they said a very interesting thing. They said that this declaration is being put together by the people of the West. So it is biased towards the West, and the West is not an ideal representative of human being, because they have been in a very recent years involved in all kinds of atrocities, colonization, and the world wars and all that. So how can they represent? This is American Anthropological Association, which is saying that the culture has to play a role. So the rights and the morals and the beliefs of people that make a culture, that has to be understood. You cannot just implement what West is saying on the rest of the world. So that's what the American Anthropological Association said at that time. And the other organization, for example, Amnesty International, had a problem with that they said that it should have the right, it should declare the right for the human being to refuse to kill. For example, if somebody doesn't want to go to war, they think that this right should be given. They're conscious. They should be given the right to act according to their conscience. So these are the differences, and many other examples that people did not agree. It's not only the Muslims, even the circles within the Western societies. The Soviet bloc, for example, they refused, they abstained from voting for this, about 8 countries of the Soviet bloc. So at the time of this, when this declaration was adopted, Saudi Arabia, one of the very important Muslim countries, it did not, it abstained from the voting and has some objections on this declaration, based on, for example, the way it is defined in the declaration, that everyone has the right to change his religion. Yes, it is right that the Islam does not allow coercion, converting people by force from one religion to any other religion, Islam or any other religion. But also it discourages people for playing with the faith. That means today you declare yourself Muslims, tomorrow you are something else, and third day you came back into Islam. This is the things, type of things that was going on at the time, very early times when Prophet ﷺ was there, and to discourage that attitude that once either you accept it or you don't accept it, there is no problem, but don't play with this kind of thing. So this kind of attitude is discouraged. So this and some other objections that Saudi Arabia has at that time, so they abstained. And as I mentioned, that the proponent of this declaration, United States, and the people who were actually the reason for this declaration, these were the Jews who were mistreated during the times of world wars by the Nazis, and their human rights were they were abused, and they were not treated as humans. So they were the main reason for this declaration, but they themselves, and including United States and the other powers who took the reins of power in their hands in the coming decades, they did not follow through on this human rights declaration, and they became the main violators of the human rights. What is happening in Israel, for through the hands of the state, with the Palestinian people and other places, and the superpowers and the main powers of the world have been supporting the despotic rulers and the people who were dictators, and they were violating the rights of the people, putting them into jail and killing them and all that. The powers who were the proponent of these human rights declaration were supporting them. This is a double standards or dichotomy. So that's what is happening. But as I have been emphasizing, that whatever there is available, especially at the level of people, common people, they understand that, and there is a lot of overlap. There's a lot of commonality between the Declaration of Human Rights and the values in various cultures. They need to be promoted. Here, there is an important thing that I want to share to end this talk, is that in 1990, the Islamic Organization of Islamic Countries also passed a resolution which is called as the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights. That gives a structure of how the Sharia of Islam treats the human rights. They came from the perspective of the religion and the Sharia. We just talked about Maqasid the Sharia and all that. But in there are certain things which may be different from the universal Declaration of Human Rights. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. For example, in the Universal Declaration, where it is mentioned the freedom of speech, immediately after that, the freedom that is mentioned is the religious freedom. So the freedom of speech and religious freedom, they should not, come in conflict with each other. So in the Islamic countries, the declaration of the Islamic countries, because they based everything on Sharia, they mentioned there that the blasphemous talk about, for example, Prophet of Islam, and for that matter any other prophet, Isa alayhi salam and other, this is not to be tolerated. This has a consequences in the various countries. This is punishable offense to do blasphemy or talking bad about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is also acknowledged recently by the European Union when they put to violators of doers of such acts. We talk bad about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are subject to punishment now in Europe even. So that is a good move, and so that's how as I said that the American Anthropological Association, as they put it, that the cultures and the norms, the belief system that make the culture, that has to be respected also. So we need to look for the commonalities and should understand and try to live with the differences as well, and try to promote these commonalities from the level of common people, and also wherever it is possible to the institution and to the governments, and try to bring our rights back to ourselves, get our rights be recognized by others, and by others right by us as well. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين والمؤمنات. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Islam at a Glance was brought to you by
अमरीका में पाकिस्तानियों को अमरीकी सियासी अमल का हिस्सा बनाने में मसरूफ़ अमल अमरीकन पाकिस्तानी पब्लिक अफेयर्स कमेटी। अमरीका में बसने वाले पाकिस्तानियों का मुस्तकबिल सियासी अमल में शमूलियत से है। आइए सियासी शोर को उजागर करने के लिए आप भी एपी पैक का साथ दीजिए।